It's Wednesday! You know what that means! I'm better than you, and you know it! You fucking mark! Listen, I get it! Hard down, bro!
What is up, everybody? What is up? Welcome to the Sports Jedi Network here on YouTube, X, Kick, Rumble, Twitch, wherever you're watching. I am your host. I am PGH Chris today for your AEW Dynamite post-show review live. Now, real quick disclaimer before I get into anything else, before I get into the rest of the video, I am aware that the match is still going on right now. My thing is I've already seen enough of this match to where I don't really need to see the finish. I mean, Aubrey Edwards is out with the ref bump. Swerve looks like he's going to get the pin. I don't know. I'm here to talk to you guys about the last 2 hours we just watched. Before we get into all that, I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me on a Wednesday night here on the Sports Jedi Network. Again, I am PGH Chris TV. I want to obviously thank our sponsors here before we get into the show. Dude Wipes, the official sponsor of the Sports Jedi Network. Dude Wipes, wiping out the competition. Text Dude, save 20 to 59463 for 20% off your next order. Also, don't forget Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee, wake up, stand up, never back down. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/rumble and use code Rumble for 20% off or our referral code Sports Jedi 20. Guys, AEW Dynamite tonight. Let's get into the review here. Again, if you're joining me, come say hi, join the conversation, say what's up. There's a lot that happened, not too much, but there are a couple things in some of the matches here that I do want to go over. Start off with the first match. AEW. So first off, they were in Sacramento. They had a sold out crowd, around 3,000 people. I think it was like 3,010, 3,005, some 3,000 and some change according to WrestleTix. They also, it wasn't a bad arena. They were at the Memorial Auditorium. It doesn't look bad. They have that, like, all these arenas sort of have like that Hammerstein type of look where they have the seatings and the stand areas, whatever. So it looks cool. They opened it kind of where the Willow Nightingale, so the contestants for the Fatal 4-Way match are doing this kind of intro. They're talking backstage with a little bit of background music in there. And then they have they got Kenny and Swerve. And I thought this was cool in the beginning because, this is different. They're not starting off with a match, right? They're not going on the air, Excalibur, Tony Khan, or Schiavone, and saying, it's Wednesday, you know what that means. It's AEW Dynamite. So I actually kind of enjoyed that until Pockets, Orange Cassidy, decides to come into the frame. He needs a mystery opponent tonight for his tag team match against Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd, and it ends up being Tomohiro Ishii. Oh my God, do I wish Kev was here. I wish Kev was here because, man, wouldn't that be a good laugh? But, guys, quick update before we do get into the beginning of the show here. Looks like Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland is still going on. But, they did have that referee bump, Aubrey Edwards. She is not in the match right now. They do have another ref. And it looks like right now Swerve's going to get the pin. 1, 2, 3. Swerve Strickland has beaten Kenny Omega in the main event. Quick update here before we get into the rest of the show. Again, if you guys are just tuning in, I am PGH Chris TV. I am the co-host here on the Sports Jedi Network, bringing you guys a live AEW Dynamite post show. Give you guys what I thought, thoughts about what I thought about the show today. But let's go what we were talking about. First match, Jon Moxley versus Mark Davis in a Continental Classic Eliminators match. Now, I'm not surprised they started off the show with Moxley. Now, I said this on my Twitter earlier today. I said they needed to start the show with MJF and Hangman Adam Page. Now, that promo did fall flat, and we'll talk about that when I get there. But in my perfect world, they should have started off Dynamite with the face-to-face between Hangman and MJF. Because, I mean, it's always match. You could at least give us that promo when we're getting a first ever match in the main event with Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland. So, whatever. You're going to start this off with a Continental Championship Eliminators match, which doesn't even make sense in my opinion. It really does not make sense. If you're going to, I don't like the whole concept of Continental Championship Eliminator matches to begin with. But if you're going to do them, I believe that they should be for your world champion. World champion only. I might be the only person in the world that feels that way. But look, I hate the concept of it because you don't need to brand it or advertise it as an eliminators match. You can do it either way. That's obviously for AEW to advertise. It's a way for them to make the match feel important. So whatever. They had a eliminators match, Mark Davis and Jon Moxley. It wasn't terrible. I didn't like Moxley doing a suicide dive. I actually thought that was hilarious. It was a strong hitting match. You know, Mark Davis, he doesn't have his tag team partner. He is hurt. So the former Jake something, he's not competing. So you got to have Mark Davis go out there and still do something, which, you know, they're having him go against Jon Moxley. We see this a lot throughout the night, and this isn't the first time that I'm going to complain about this, but I'll say it in this first match because, oh my God, did it completely annoyed me. Now, the referees counting, not counting, I should say, when everybody's outside of the ring. Mark Davis and Moxley spent a good 3 minutes out of the ring, and the referee didn't do anything. I don't like that. Why do they have to go outside of the ring and do whatever it is they're going to do for 5 minutes? And it's not even during the picture-in-picture. It's during the match. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. You know, I think Mark Davis, he did take a beating. What I mean is that if you saw his right hand was screwed up the entire match. He did a good job of, I don't know if it's actually messed up because it did look very, with bleeding. He had tape around it, but he did do a good job of at least selling that his right hand was hurting him. So good job to Mark Davis. But the match ended at, around 8:20, 20 minutes after, the show goes on the air. Jon Moxley gets the win by submitting Mark Davis. Now, I was watching this and I thought to myself, what's next for Jon Moxley? And again, excuse my voice because I've been coming down with a cold the last couple of days. So bear with me here for the next how long we do this. But I was asking myself, okay, what's Jon Moxley going to do on the road to All In? He has had great matches with Takeshita. You could do a rematch here with Mark Davis. I don't think we should see Takeshita and Jon Moxley necessarily see each other or really do anything, interact, no matches, really until you're building for All In. I don't recall on the top of my head if there's anything advertised for the next couple of weeks leading up to Revolution between these two, but I don't think these guys should really mix it up again. I mean, they've mixed it up so many times now, and I think you have this match at All In, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. Or if you're gonna have, you could have Okada and him and then you finally reunify these stupid championships, international championships, whatever it is. But I think that's what's next with Jon Moxley leading up to their big show All In. But it wasn't a bad match to open the show. I just personally wouldn't have opened the show with that. I know John Moxley's, again, he opens the show, you know, even when he is the world champion. But in this show, when you do have, you're getting advertised a first ever match with Kenny Omega and Swerve, who are your two, arguably your not just top to me, some of your two top baby faces in the company, but two of your top biggest talent. So you want to have those guys, you know, in the main event, which they did do that. But I do think you want to start the show with MJF and Hangman, which I'll get into that, but not a bad match. Again, Moxley beats Mark Davis by a submission. We'll see where that goes with Moxley leading up here to the next couple of months. But after that, FTR came out with Stokely Hathaway. Stokely Hathaway comes out in a wheelchair. Crowd's booing FTR. Don't really like Dax coming out, but they get into the ring. They go into the commercial, and then they come back from the commercial. Dax gets in the ring. He starts talking about, 2016. The Young Bucks thought they were the best. They made FTR, made fun of them. He's talking about how the Young Bucks are the second best tag team because apparently FTR is the best tag team in their generation, which is not true at all. I don't think is true. Okay, they had really, really good tag team matches in the beginning of AEW. They're not a bad tag team, but they're not the best tag team of their generation. I hate to point that out because, I know a lot of people like FTR, but they're not my cup of coffee. I just don't agree. But Stokely Hathaway is great for FTR because I'm not saying Dax and Cash Wheeler can't go out there and cut promos, but they're not good. That's what I mean. Like, can they go out there and do it? Yeah, they do it all the time. But for them, I've always wanted FTR to have that spokesperson, that manager for them. So somebody like Stokely, I think, is good. And he makes a good point when he talks about the Young Bucks because first off, he kind of talked a little bit like he was shooting on the company, like talking about how, if I could tell you guys how much I don't like some of the people in the back, this and that. I'm like, oh okay, that's interesting. But he made a good point. Last week on Dynamite, was it last week on Dynamite, right? Where Private Party comes back, the Young Bucks shake their hand, this and that, but they're the reasons why they're gone. The Young Bucks are the reason why that Private Party was gone for such a long time. I'm happy Stokely Hathaway called out the BS on that because he's 100% correct. I don't think he's wrong at all. So I like that, but it was fine until obviously we knew where this was coming or we knew where this was going. The Young Bucks were going to come out there and somehow, some way super kick all of them, which is exactly what happened. As Stokely's talking, the Young Bucks come out there, they super kick Dax and Cash. Stokely's kind of talking, then he realizes that the Young Bucks are there. They super kick him. And this is where I have the problem. They're calling out FTR for a match at Revolution. How many times are we going to see this match between the Young Bucks and FTR for the tag team titles? It is getting repetitive. We saw the match happen 2 years ago at Wembley. I think Edge and Christian, if they do decide to come back as a tag team, and yes, Adam Copeland will be back, okay? He's been filming Percy Jackson. He has been active on his socials. He's ready to come back. Doesn't know how long he's going to be back for, but he's ready to come back. So when Adam Copeland and Christian Cage come back, they have got to come back as a tag team. Now, is that going to be repetitive? Sure. But who else do they really have in the tag team division? And this is what kind of gets me upset about AEW right now. Their tag team division's lame. Their tag team division's boring. Where are the guns? I understand if Colton, right? Colton might be hurt. I know he's the one that has a lot of injuries. So he's been Austin's been tagging with Juice Robinson. And like even those two, where are they? There are some tag teams on there are some tag teams on Collision that I think could be in the contestant, in that main spot for the tag team titles. But instead, we're replaying it and we're going back and keep doing the same thing we're doing here with the Young Bucks and FTR. It gets to a point where I don't care to see this match anymore. You're not going to top the one you did at Wembley. They feuded this whole thing. They made it about CM Punk. When CM Punk had his whole thing at Wembley with Jack Perry, they put that into storyline. The storyline still didn't hit, and they're still trying to do this in 2026. I don't understand, guys. What are we doing with the tag team division in AEW? Guys, it's not good. It's the same thing. And then Bryan Danielson on commentary. I'm gonna say this right now because I felt like this the entire time. I know I shit on Excalibur. I know I crap on Tony Schiavone. But Bryan Danielson has been very, very hard to listen to on commentary. And I'm going to be 100% honest. He has been very, very hard to listen to on commentary. He thinks everything's great. He covers for the botches, which in hindsight, you're supposed to do as a commentator. And I'm not going to bash on him for that. He's doing his job. And who knows, maybe he might generally think this, stuff is good. But my point is, like, he is very, very hard to listen to on Thursdays. I'm going to be honest. I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't know if I'm the only one that's going to feel this way, chat, but Taz needs to come back. Taz needs to come back because Danielson is not cutting it. But look, it looks like we're going to get FTR versus the Young Bucks at Revolution. We'll see where this goes. My thing is this. If FTR wins, who's next for FTR? And if the Young Bucks win, what are they going to do? Redo this again at the next pay-per-view? Which I think is Double or Nothing. Which, speaking of Double or Nothing, it is announced that they are going to Louis Armstrong, I guess, is it called Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens, New York. It's right next to Arthur Ashe. It's kind of like the little state, not little, but it's like a 13,000 capacity. But they're doing Double or Nothing there. So I might try to go to that. I think that's interesting. Double or Nothing's always been one of my favorite shows. So I'm curious to see where that goes. But before we get into the next segment, again, I want to thank you guys for being here with me on a Thursday. If you guys are here, please come in the chat. Say what's up. What did you guys think of Dynamite tonight? Leave a like, leave a follow. Support everything we do here on the Sports Jedi Network. Come support me, PGH Chris TV on X, on YouTube. Again, my affiliate, G Fuel Energy. Use my promo code PGH Chris for 20% off. G Fuel, I've been, drinking G Fuel since I was, a kid. Not a kid, which, energies, drinks like that when you're a kid aren't good. But I was in G Fuel. I've known the product for a while. Very lucky and appreciative that, they have me on their affiliate program. So use my promo code PGH Chris for 20% off, or go to gfuel.com/PGH Chris and you'll get the same discount over there. Again, that is Dude Wipes. You always want to make sure here on the Sports Jedi Network that we are showing our love and support to Dude Wipes, which I guess WWE is also joining the Dude Wipes family. That is right. WWE is joining. Hey, we were to do it first. We were a part of the Dude Wipes family first. So shout out to Dude Wipes and Blackout Coffee. Again, that is Sports Jedi 20 or code Rumble for 20% off at Blackout Coffee. Anything else before we get into the rest of this show? Which, look, it wasn't, the first hour was fine. Before I get into the Fatal 4-Way match, they did a vignette, which they were a lot of vignette heavy tonight on AEW. I guess they've been like that for the last couple of weeks. Very, very vignette heavy. But they did a vignette where Brody King comes back and he talks about basically how he's going to get another shot at the AEW title, that we're going to see him, and the commentators acknowledge that we're going to see him in the next couple of weeks. So, that's going to be a good conversation for this week on Weekly Wrestling with Kevin, because, we talked about that. We even had Marie Shadows come in as a guest, that Brody King, I wouldn't be surprised if they took, and I'm not going to get on that rant because I went on that rant on Saturday. We might talk about this again this Saturday when, my sickness and all this is good. My voice is clear and I can actually get into this. And again, but I think it's good to have this conversation because fuck Ice Chance broke out again tonight. And me and Kev talked about this. They're in California for the next they're in the whole West Coast until Revolution, and Revolution's in the Crypto Arena in LA. So fuck Ice Chance broke out during the vignette. I'm not surprised. They were in Sacramento. It looks like Warner Brothers and Tony AEW looks like they don't care. Maybe they don't care, but maybe they don't see this either as a bad issue. Maybe it's one. And again, I hate to jump into this, but they showed Brody King on television tonight, and those chants broke out again. I'm going to say this very, very clear because I posted a clip on my X that kind of got some traction with some people. And I'm going to say this very clearly. When I made my comment about keep politics out of pro wrestling, I'm going to bring that up for 1 second. I'm not just talking about this. I'm not just talking about Brody King and the F Ice chants and all that. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about WWE too. Now, I'm not going to defend anybody because I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say that that keep wrestling out of politics, and I'm saying whatever. And I do generally mean this for every company. I don't care if you're GCW, House of Glory, TNA. I don't give a shit. But my thing is this. Have we seen any other? We're not seeing this play out on television like we are with AEW. You're not hearing those chants break out on Monday Night Raw when they're in California. You're just not. Now, you might be, but they're going to be the first ones to censor it. They're probably going to, the guy who starts it, they're going to get probably kicked out of the building. They don't care. The AEW or Warner Brothers seems to not care. And I don't want to hear the shit that, well, Warner Brothers doesn't have, they can't tell Tony Khan. Tony Khan makes the decision. Give me a fucking break. Because I told you guys this years ago, even when I wasn't a part of this channel. I told you guys this years ago that Warner Brothers Discovery had some part to do with AEW, and I was right. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me here tonight, brother. I appreciate it. You're always here with us. I appreciate it. Salute, brother. Happy Wednesday. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed AEW. Hope you're enjoying your night. Thank you for being here with me. I greatly appreciate it. But no, you're not hearing those chants break out anywhere else. So my thing is this. Again, I respect Brody King for not just standing on what he believes in. Everybody else, I don't care who you fall with. That doesn't apply to me. I'm here to talk about pro wrestling. And this is involving pro wrestling because it's being brought on a pro wrestling show. You're not seeing that with anybody else. No matter how buddy other companies might be with the current administration going on right now, you're not hearing political chants or nothing being chant over there. You're hearing it over here. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean it for both sides. Whatever they do outside of promoting WWE, whatever they do outside of WWE television, social media, networking, who am I or who are we to really say anything about it? But that's just me. But we'll see what happens. He should be on TV for in the next couple of weeks. Maybe even next Wednesday. Who knows? So keep you guys updated with that next Wednesday night if he is indeed there. They got into the TBS championship match. Now, look, this is where the show kind of started to go downhill for me, because you had a TBS championship match, fatal four-way. You had Marina Shafir versus Megan Bayne versus Mina Shirakawa versus Willow Nightingale. Now, before I get into the match, Kev agreed with me. Our friend Marie Shadows agreed with me. How is Mina Shirakawa coming out to a theme song that sounds like Don Omar? That's exactly what it sounded like. Hey, maybe she was feeling a little Puerto Rican tonight. I don't know. Who knows? But we had this fatal four-way match. Now, this was a spot fest. This was spot after spot after spot, whether it was Willow doing her little tumble bomb on everybody getting up immediately so Mina Shirakawa could hit her move, whether it was, just all the spots at the end with Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir with the tag teaming. And that's really why I couldn't stand in this match. So it wasn't until the end of the match where we actually started seeing a quote-unquote fatal four-way, because when you have two teams right here in a fatal four-way, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have Marina Shafir and Megan Bayne, which, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Marina Shafir the lady who substituted for Megan Bayne when Penelope Ford went out with injury? They are technically a tag team. Who are the AEW Tag Team Women's Champions right now? Exactly my point. Dude, nobody wanted they didn't want to touch anybody. It was literally, you got Marina versus Mina, and then you got Megan Bayne and Willow. It wasn't until later in the match where you actually saw Willow go actually screw it, power bomb her, pin her, and when Mina kicked out. It wasn't until the end where you actually saw Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir go outside of the ring and actually brawl. I just think you should have done Megan Bayne versus Willow. That's the ultimate attraction in this match. Megan Bayne landed really weird on the suplex. They did a spot where Willow Nightingale was on the top rope. She did like a suplex on the top rope where Megan Bayne was on there, and Megan Bayne looked like she landed on her freaking neck. Now, Willow Nightingale looked strong in the match. She is the TBS champion. She got majority of the offense and all three of the ladies, which good. I like the way they used her there. Again, my point, I still believe that Megan Bayne and Willow is the main attraction. You should have, and again, I hope that leads to that. That's a good feud for the mid-card. If you're not going to have Megan Bayne, in my opinion, who should be in the contestants for your AEW Women's World Champion, if you're not going to have her do that, you can have her feud with Willow Nightingale a little bit longer. Because if you want to, because like we saw later, Chris Statlander, they did the backstage little segment there with Thunder Rosa. Like she's hurt, but she eventually will get that AEW Tag Team Championship rematch now. And what I think they're going to do, Tekla's probably going to go against some minor people, not minor, but what I mean is people that we know that she's going to beat leading up to the next match with Chris Statlander. For example, Thunder Rosa into this promo. We know that Thunder Rosa probably will be her opponent to get Tekla a match going into their next match, to her next match with Chris Statlander. We just don't know when. But I would like Willow Nightingale and Megan Bayne to have that mid-card feud. I think you'd heat up the women's division a little bit. And maybe with Willow and Mina, maybe tensions could start there to heel. One of them or Mina goes heel. I don't know. But it wasn't a good match. To me, it just felt like half of it felt like a tag team match. And then when they realized that it was a fatal four-way, it kicked in. It was very, very hard to kind of pay attention to that. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Get Megan Bayne and Willow going for whatever it is coming up. I don't think they're going to do it at Revolution, but they could do it at Double or Nothing leading up to All In. So that was that. Not that great. Didn't like it. Again, I said earlier because they did do another video package here before going into the face-to-face with Hangman at MJF. Now, during the Fatal 4-Way match, what I just talked about, they did do like a thing on the screen, and they had a clock uh, counting down like 15 minutes until we got to MJF and Hangman, which I didn't mind. I thought it was cool because it reminded people, okay, this is the next segment. Got to be here for that, which was fine. But they did a video package recapping AEW Grand Slam in Australia, and I actually thought it was a good package. I thought the song fit the show. I thought they did a good job of highlighting the key moments that happened. I thought it was a good video package done by AEW. They're kind of letting us know what happened this weekend at Grand Slam. Now, the one thing they didn't mention leading out of Grand Slam, and I know people probably will talk about it as a negative, but I simply don't care because I don't care for the inspiration. They didn't mention the inspiration debuting on AEW during the house rules thing. Now, I personally don't know. Again, I'm not a dirt sheet guy. I don't give a crap about dirt sheets. I am an analyst. I'm a pro wrestling analyst. I'm not a reporter. I report sports, not pro wrestling. So I don't know contracts and all this stuff right now when it comes to when it comes to the inspiration. Again, they're fresh coming out of TNA. Me and Kev literally just saw them on TNA a few weeks ago. So I don't know what's happening, but they didn't mention them. Not even in the video package. Again, I know it didn't happen during their live televised show. I understand it happened at a house show, but I mean that we just saw an example in the Fatal 4-Way match that you could have had a tag, like what I just talked about, where it was tag team. You could have introduced a tag team. Now, again, I have liked it, but during that match, you could have actually had the inspiration come out. Why? Because your tag team champions are right there. But anyway, good video package, but that's the one thing small that I think people are going to take out because it did not happen live during the show. It happened during a non-televised event, which is something that AEW rarely does. So I think that's kind of rubbing some people, that way. So good package by AEW. We'll see if we see the inspiration here in the next couple of weeks leading up to anything. Maybe they'll get a pre-show match on Revolution here. But Hangman Adam Page face to face with MJF. Huh. Now, this was something I was kind of excited about, but it wasn't bad. But there are some things I do want to talk about. Two main things I want to talk about. So, first off, I thought it was freaking hilarious where MJF called Kenny Omega and Swerve Hangman's boyfriends. He was like, yeah, your boyfriends are fighting each other today, whatever. That was funny. Now, this promo segment to me, again, I have been vocal about this since the first time Hangman Adam Page won that AEW world title years ago, back in 2021, 2022, when he was feuding with Punk in the Double or Nothing, when he lost it right then and there, when he beat Kenny Omega. He's the worst AEW champion in the history of the company. And this promo segment, to me, again, shows why. You put somebody like Hangman Adam Page, who's better, who's really good on the microphone, or excuse me, you put somebody like MJF, you put somebody like MJF in the ring again with Hangman Adam Page. MJF is a way better speaker and promo than Hangman. Hangman just looks lost. He looks like a fucking deer in headlights. I saw the same thing with CM Punk. Now, granted, the iconic punchline where Hangman says, I'm not just defending this title from you, the company, blah, blah, blah. I'm defending it from whatever he said to CM Punk. That might have been his best promo because it was the most authentic. But this guy can't cut a promo for shit. Even with Swerve and Hangman during their feud going into Full Gear, that was Swerve really dominated that. I don't know. That's just me. But let's talk about really what I want to talk about from this promo segment. So we know they're going against each other at Revolution for the world title in the main event. Why does that first? This is the two things. First, why does every single Hangman Adam Page match need a freaking stipulation? Let's get it. Go ahead, MJF. Pick your stipulation. What's the stipulation going to be? Why does every match for you need to be a stipulation? Whether it's Swerve, whether it's Moxley, whether it's Kenny Omega, whether it's Adam Cole. I'm going real back with Adam Cole on that one. Texas Dex match on Rampage. And if you know, you know. I actually enjoyed that match. One of the few Rampage matches that I enjoyed for the world title. But like what are we why? MJF is completely correct. We're doing it. You guys need to do a traditional one-on-one match. Enough of the stipulations with Hangman. He's not a terrible wrestler to where he needs to do crappy indie matches to get himself over. Now, he talks about in the promo, he wants to beat MJF so bad that if he loses, he will never challenge for the AEW World Championship. Not as long as MJF is the champion, but forever. What a stupid thing to say. Stupid stipulation to have, stupid thing to do. You're probably like, Chris, you don't like MJF. You just sat here and called MJF the worst AEW champion. How are you not excited about this? How do you not want MJF to beat Hangman even more? It's that simple. Hangman is still one of your top talent in the company. You didn't just have this guy go out there, beat somebody at last year's All In, your biggest show, stadium show, the show that won everybody's bullshit award for fucking pay-per-view of the year. You had him go out there and win the AEW world title and show the world the title for the first time out there at bringing a briefcase for God knows how long. And you're really going to really risk him never challenging for the world title ever? Bullshit. He's still one of your top talent in the company. That, what, now you're going to add one less main event guy to your show? You don't have that many to begin with. A lot of them already have outside stuff that they like to do. Kenny Omega is not going to be around for long. MJF probably going to go film a show or a movie in a couple months. Definitely after All In. Who knows? Maybe he might not be present as much during the road to All In. Swerve's really the only one there, but you're not going to put it on him. Ospreay, which he's coming back. I'll talk about, he did do a video package. We'll talk about that later before the main event, but he's coming back. What are we doing? What are we doing? You have these talent. Whether they're going to go out and do some stuff or not. Okay, if Kenny Omega goes out and does whatever Street Fighter thing he's going to do, Ospreay will be back. And if whatever MJF wants to go film a movie, Darby, I don't know. My point is, Hangman still has a lot of factor, a lot of ties to this world championship picture, to the wrestlers in the world championship. You're going to tell me if Swerve wins another world title that we're not going to see MJ or Hangman challenge for it? You're going to tell me that's not going to irk MJF's soul if he sees Swerve Strickland with another AEW title? It's ridiculous. Guys, it's ridiculous. We don't need Hangman going out there and risking that. I might be the only one that feels that way. It is what it is, because if MJF wins clearly, what are you going to do with Hangman? Are you going to have him go for TNT championships as AEW run? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. we'll see where the stipulation goes. We'll see what happens at Revolution. But again, the promo was not as, it didn't hit as well or as much as I thought it was going to, but it wasn't bad. They got their kind of got their points across, hear what they wanted to do and wanted to say. But again, too many stipulations for Hangman. He likes to have gimmick matches. I want him and MJF to have a one-on-one. And if that leads somewhere, if that is good, then they can do, gimmick matches to elevate their feud. But again, if MJF is going to sit here and say, I'll never challenge for the world championship, then what are we doing here? You're not going to have MJF win. You're not going to have Adam Page win. If Hangman Adam Page beats MJF, you have no idea what that's going to do to the AEW fans. Because, dude, we want a MJF as their world champion. Not just the fans, but it's just what's best for business. They said it on Busted Open. You throw every dollar you have, Tony, to MJF. It's no question. It's truly no question. We'll see where that goes. Wasn't bad, but this is where now that's the first hour. 9 o'clock. The first hour, again, way better than the second hour that I'm going to talk about here, because this second hour to me was just so rushed. I don't know if rush is the right word, but they did a lot. They let the first hour breathe a lot more than the second. So they go from that to pockets. Do I really want to talk about pockets and Tomohiro Ishii right now? Let's make this quick, because there is actually something to get into. So Orange Cassidy, again, I talked about this in the beginning of the show. They did that thing where the wrestlers a couple of the wrestlers kind of did a quick promo going into the show, talking about their matches later on. And one of it was Orange Cassidy. He needed a partner, and he picked Tomohiro Ishii to go against Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors. I have a major problem with this match. I'll tell you the obvious. Let's state the obvious, why I hate this match. You guys know how I feel. What I'm about to say is something that I, PGH Chris, feel. It is not an indication on how the Sports Jedi Network feels. It is not an indication on how Kev feels. This is how I feel. So I will take the whatever from it, because I know this guy is loved. I'm going to say this again for the 1 millionth time. I, PGH Chris, believe 100% in my soul that Orange Cassidy is the worst, and I quote, the worst professional wrestler I have ever seen in my 20 years of watching the pro wrestling. Now that I got that out of the way, 20 seconds in and that fucking clown already has his hands in his hips. I mean, you can't prove my point anymore. And then here comes Tomohiro Ishii. Now, this is where I have a problem with him too. How many times are we going to get chops after chops after chops after chops with this freaking old clown? This guy broke his hip. He broke his hip on a no-selling snooze fest. Now, I actually don't know how he broke his hip, but that was that part of the match with him and Gabe Kidd doing the ridiculous repetitive chops back and forth. It was ridiculous. I hated it. And another thing is, did Ishii break his hip or something? Did he fuck up his tailbone? Bro, I saw that. I don't want to say I laughed, because I don't want to ever laugh at somebody getting injured, especially somebody of his age. But he did not hide it well. I mean, I don't know what move it was, but I'm like, that's what you fucking come on, old man. Rest it up. The crowd's not getting behind. You're doing this for what at this point, Tomohiro Ishii? What are you doing? What does appearing on AEW for random fucking bullshit tag team multi-man matches really do for you at this point in your career? The old man broke his hip. I'm gonna give him a little props for finishing it, but Pockets should have tagged Ishii in, finish the spot, finish it. But instead, he decided to go out and have a little mini street fight with Gabe Kidd. And the worst part is Tomohiro Ishii not just got the finish, right? But he pins fucking Clark Connors, who I'm not saying is Will Ospreay or fucking Seth Rollins or whoever. But this guy is a signing that you just brought to your company who has a good look. He's tag teaming with Gabe Kidd, who is a fan favorite in some eyes. And you could make these guys a real tag team instead of us getting FTR and the Young Bucks every single big pay-per-view. Instead, you have an old injured man that just broke his fucking tailbone coming back for one-off because him and Cassidy aren't a real tag team. And you have him pin Clark Connors? What kind of a booking decision is that? What kind of a booking decision is that? Moving on. Little segment back there with Don Callis' family. Andrade. Look, I tweeted out Andrade, no way he's in the Don Callis family. I am aware when Andrade came back to AEW, he was in the Don Callis family. Yes, that was originally something that I had a problem with when he first came back, when he, I guess, wasn't supposed to. But he's not the main attraction of that group. Why are you going to have Andrade in a group where Kyle Fletcher is your main attraction, who's supposed to be your main attraction? He's like the unofficial leader. You have Okada. You have Josh Alexander. You have Takeshita. Like, I don't understand why all these people are in this fucking group. All these guys need to be on their own, competing for a championship. And they're stuck all in a group. For what? For what? That's my thing. For what? He just had a match with Hangman at Grand Slam Australia, which was a good match for the number one contendership for the AEW World Championship. And you're having this guy join a family full of people that are already stars. Anyway, moving on. Oh, they did another freaking backstage thing too with Hook. Hook is a boss. He's a leader now. We're giving Hook boss status in AEW. Samoa Joe, you couldn't find anybody else to fill in your spot as the boss leader of the ops. Hook says he's the best second generation wrestler ever. Yeah, Dominic. Remember when we had this conversation years ago when the whole IWC was talking about who's going to have the better future? Who's going to be blah, blah, blah? Is it going to be Hook or Dominic Mysterio? Anyway, we know the answer to that. Moving on. That was awful. More recruiting, whatever. Match. The Brawling Birds. They had their debut match as a tag team. It's the team of Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor. They took on a team of jobbers, which, forgive me, did not pick up on those two ladies' names. But the one girl in the gray, she had a lot of offense against Alex Windsor. I didn't think she was bad. Maybe they're one of those local tag teams. But it was a squash match. I mean, the moves were flat. Not really a squash match. It felt like a squash match. Should have been a squash match. But I don't know if I'm really liking these two working together. I think their moves felt really flat. I don't think they hit those moves well, especially the one at the end where Alex Windsor kind of has like her opponent on the shoulders, and then Jamie Hayter comes in for like clothesline off the. I don't understand their tag team move set. It looked like they weren't on the same page. And I don't want to say the one jobber girl botched the move, but it's hard to do it when I don't even think they're all on the same page, man. It was not a good first match for these two to have, and it's all right, but I don't know why. Again, I have this argument with Clark Connors. You have Alex Windsor come in here and have her in a tag team. Why is Jamie Hayter in a tag team too? She should be for the AEW Women's Championship. She's phenomenal. She is amazing. Now, to the next, they did another match here before going into the main event. Why? What was the point of having Kevin Knight versus the Beast Mortos? For multiple reasons. One, the main event ended like 5 minutes after I went on the air. So it ended at like what, 10:15? A 15-minute overrun. You gave Kevin Knight and Beast Mortos a match on this show in a very, very bad time, and I'll tell you why. That's for the reason I just mentioned before is the first reason, is because you could have gave Kenny and Swerve so much time where you didn't have to go off the air 15, 20 minutes past, the 10 o'clock hour. This is a dumb match for the second reason that the commentators stated that the Beast Mortos and Kevin Knight are having this match because the Beast Mortos wants a shot. His group wants he's doing this for his group to get a shot at the AEW Trios Tag Team Championships. Why would he want a Trios Tag Team Championship when him and Sammy Guevara are currently the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions? Don't give me it's because of the AEW Championship. Okay. But he is I'm not saying their Ring of Honor is a big deal, because it certainly isn't. But Sammy Guevara is, again, a great talent. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. I think it's kind of fucking ironic that him and Sammy Guevara are even tag team champions to begin with, considering what Sammy has made some comments about his woman in the past. My point is, it makes no sense. What does Beast Mortos want with the Trios Championships? And again, the only reason why Jet Speed has the Trios Championships is because Royce Keese, aka former FKA Powerhouse Hobbs, was leaving the company to go to WWE. So they wanted to take the Trios Tag Team titles off the Ops, put it on Jet Speed, and what the fuck have they done with it now? And this guy, again, I'm going to go back to Bryan Danielson, has the nerve to say, well, these guys, or was it Tony Schiavone? No, it was Bryan Danielson. Oh, those guys have had a great reign. They've been doing so well with the Trios Tag Team titles. They haven't done a damn thing with those Trios Tag Team titles since winning them. I sometimes, as much as I can't stand these announcers, I applaud sometimes how they try and they try and they try to at least make something out of a botch or a bad match or a story that's not really hitting. I give him some props, but you can't really do that all the time. You can't do that. So yeah, it wasn't a bad match. Kevin Knight did win, which A, I'm surprised. B, I don't really know what's next. I mean, I don't care for Jet Speed. Don't care for the Beast Mortos. This match should have never happened. This was a perfect match for Collision. Oh well, we'll see what happens. This was kind of the match where I didn't pay much attention. Well, I paid attention to it, obviously, but it's just we're getting ready for a main event that I'm going to talk about right now, and it's just you can't keep having these matches at the end of that show that don't really need to be there. They don't mean anything, and you don't give the main event enough time to actually let it breathe and let us enjoy it. It doesn't make for good, television, in my opinion. But again, before we get into the main event, they did do a package, like I mentioned earlier, with Will Ospreay. Wasn't long, just reminding us that he is coming back. Maybe we'll see him at Revolution. Who knows? But before we get into the main event, again, I'd like to thank you guys for being here with me. If you're here, please come say hi. Tell me what you guys thought about Dynamite tonight. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was terrible. And you know, the main event, we can get into that right now. Again, one more time, I want to thank everybody, Sports Jedi Network, Kev, everybody for letting me, you know, come on here and talk some Dynamite. Shout out to G Fuel, sponsor of PGH Chris TV. Go subscribe to the channel. Follow me on X. Use code PGH Chris, 20% off G Fuel. Dude Wipes, that is the official, you know, sponsor here of the Sports Jedi Network. Well, I got it upside down. As well as Blackout Coffee, big part of the channel here. Blackout Coffee, use code Sports Jedi 20 for 20% off. And with that being said, guys, let's get into our main event here. Let's end with Kenny Omega versus Swerve Strickland. First time ever. Now, again, first time ever. This was okay. I mean, look, they started off very fast paced. It wasn't for a first time ever match. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't that great, but it was fun. It was a good match between, you know, two good wrestlers. But the end got a very, very just what happened. Because again, was it because I'm here setting up for the show? You know, I had to go on at a certain time, and this show still isn't over yet. Maybe that's a personal me issue on why the last few moments of the match didn't hit, but they started off pretty fast paced. I mean, obviously you got Swerve, Hurricane Run, or Kenny doing the Hurricane Ranas, Swerve reversals, them doing the chops back and forth. This is my problem a little bit with this match, and I've seen it a lot with Swerve Strickland matches. I love Swerve Strickland. But why do I feel like some of his matches just are a little bit too choreographed? You know, like during the picture-in-picture, which, first off, there should have not been a picture-in-picture during this match. This is where you give the match 30 minutes, commercial free. You're giving us a picture-in-picture at 10:55. That is bad TV placement. That's bad producing. That's just bad overall. But they started the match again fast. It felt choreographed, not choreographed, but all the Swerve matches, you can tell sometimes, like during the picture when they're outside and you can tell when a spot is being set. Where Swerve Strickland goes out there, he sets position for Kenny to do his move, vice versa. That's kind of the problem I had with the match overall. Now, I go back to the refereeing and the issues I have with that. It's when these two were out in the ring and outside of the barricades where the fans are, and Aubrey Edwards is clearly telling these guys to get in the ring, and you're not counting, and it's a mess. That's where it was a turnoff for me when they got outside the ring. That's why where Kenny Omega does a backflip. He first off, he tried to do one before and then he slipped. Even the announcer said it. He looked up and he positioned himself. You could see Swerve walk in front of him to take the backflip, and then Kenny does the backflip, and where the fan puts his arm around Kenny, and you saw that security guard kind of run over there. That's what I mean. That right there is where I kind of lost interest in the match, and it sucks because I think this match could have been a lot better. But here's my real complaint. First time ever, huh? For first time ever between Kenny and Swerve. This match should have happened in 2024. Were there injuries involved? I understand. But this match should have happened a lot sooner. Maybe it would have been better. maybe it would have hit. But they both, Kenny looked slow. He looked slow in this match. Swerve, you can kind of see him sticking to the pace, sticking to Kenny's pace. It wasn't a bad first ever match. It wasn't, it didn't hit as great as maybe I thought it would, or maybe I thought a lot of people would. And it's fine because if they want to do this again, they can. They can do this at not Revolution, but they can definitely do this leading up to Double or Nothing. Now why would they? I don't know, but again, they both want to go after the AEW World Championship. And by the way, Swerve did end up winning it because I did go live as the match was going on towards the end, which is why I might have not missed, or I might have missed a few moments in the last couple of spots. But could they do this at Double or Nothing? Maybe. I know the goal here is that they both want to challenge MJF, obviously, and go after the AEW World Championship. And my thing is like, okay, how do we get there now that Swerve Strickland wins? Does he come out after the world title match? Is he the unofficial number one contender for the AEW World Championship? Does Hangman win and Swerve come out and they run this thing back? Because I'm not going to rule out Hangman Page beating MJF at Revolution. It very could happen with this booking. Yeah, it could very much happen. So we got to see what happens with the main event. I think the main event could determine what happens with Swerve. Either way, because I mean, look, if you're gonna do Hangman, now you could do Swerve and MJF. I'm not saying that, but think about if Ospreay comes back. Now, Ospreay, when I mentioned Ospreay coming at Revolution, Ospreay could damn well come out at the end of that match. I would not hold that. Don't be surprised if that happens. Don't far. That's not far fetched if Ospreay were to come out at the end of the main event. But my thing is this, right? If Hangman wins, Swerve could come out. If MJF wins, Ospreay, Swerve, like, does this match mean that Swerve is the unofficial number one contender? Because I can tell you, if you're gonna ask me, well, what's next for Swerve? What's next for easy MJF in the World Championship? What's next for Kenny? That's really what we're gonna have to look out for in the next couple of weeks. But overall, again, AEW Dynamite tonight, from Sacramento, 3,000 people sold out, Memorial Auditorium. Out of 10, I would give it a half, maybe a 5, because the first hour was good, was fine, and then the last hour wasn't so great. The main event dragged longer than it needed to be. We got one extra match we didn't need, and then we had Orange Cassidy. First hour wasn't fine. I didn't like the concept of the Fatal 4-Way match, but I think there was still good wrestling involved, especially with Megan Bayne and Willow. Again, that's the match we need to pay attention to, guys. That is the match that I want to see, is Willow Nightingale and Megan Bayne. And we saw that in the first hour. Obviously, the face-to-face and the beginning match with Moxley and Mark Davis. So that's probably maybe why I'd give it a 5, maybe a 5.5. I literally thought the first hour was good and the last hour was bad. So that would seem to be the only fair way to judge it. But with that being said, guys, I don't really think there's nothing else to talk about here. Thank you, Daniel, in the chat for being the here with me today, for saying something in the chat tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you guys that joined and listened to this. I appreciate it. Again, we'll be live tomorrow night for Impact Wrestling watch along, 9:00 here on the Sports Jedi Network. We do our show, me and Kev, Weekly Wrestling on Saturdays. And we got a lot coming, man. Road to WrestleMania, Road to Revolution. I'll be here again live Wednesday night again next week, to talk about Dynamite again. So I appreciate it, guys. Again, Dude Wipes, G Fuel, Blackout Coffee. Thank you guys here for supporting our channels. Thank you all for supporting our channels. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Good night.